Hey guys, it's Rebecca. Today is a recommendation video and I'll be recommending books for kids. So when I say kids, it can be from any age, from like whenever you want to start inculcating reading habit in your children, or maybe like your younger siblings, anything, they can go ahead and read these books. But when I say children again, it doesn't mean elders or adults can't read it, because of course you can read it. There's no age bar when it comes to children's books, so you can go ahead and read it. And why I think children should read books, so like I want to make a separate video on this, but then I'll just talk a little about it. So I think in present generation, people hardly read. I mean, of course, I'm not generalizing. There are people who read, who love reading, but there are kids. I have grown up. I mean, I have hardly seen touchscreen phones. I used to see keypad phones, and I got my first phone in after my 12th, the touchscreen one. But whereas when you look at the kids right now, even when they are in 6th grade or 5th grade, they have phones. They are so much into it. They are so much into social media. In fact, I had my Instagram account during 12th. And when I say this, people will say, okay, come on, it's generation gap. Okay, I get it, it's generation gap. But that doesn't mean you'll get so much into it that you get addicted to it and there's nothing out of it. I mean, there's nothing around you and you're just focused in it. Even now I see parents who make their small kids of 3 or 2 years old kids eat while watching phone, and they are so much into it that I have one of my cousin, so he doesn't eat without having the phone in his hand because he wants to watch something. So I don't really like it. I mean, you shouldn't make them get into phones at such a young age that they can't live without it. Okay, so it should not be like they get addicted to it, so, and you're not getting something more from it. And I feel if you get phones at very young age and without proper care, and if parents are not looking into it, I feel the children can lose their innocence at a very young age, which should not happen. So yeah, I believe instead of that, you can inculcate reading habits into your kids or your younger siblings. It will be like a good thing. There are many benefits of reading. So yeah, and even I think the present day, this is about kids, but even the present generation, I mean, people from my age, they also think reading is such an uncool thing to do. I mean, again, I'm not generalizing, but they think such an uncool thing to do. So I remember my cousin sister, she said to me once that she was traveling in her bus and she was reading a book, and there was this 2 girls from our same college, and they commented among each other very loudly so that she could hear, saying that, oh, even in this 21st century there's a girl who's reading a book. So they find this reading a book as something uncool. So there's nothing uncool about it. And if reading a book can give me so many things that I'm experiencing right now, then I'm fine being uncool. So yeah, I believe you should inculcate a habit of reading in your younger siblings or children rather than putting them into electronic devices and gadgets. I know people change with time, but it's not necessarily everything should change. Yeah, so that's it for my philosophy. So let's get into the recommendation part. So I'll be recommending a total of 6 books, I think, and most of these books are those books that I've grown up reading, and there are books that have brought me into reading. So yeah, let's go ahead. So the first 2 books are from the same author. The author is Enid Blyton, and she was one of my favorite childhood authors. So the first book or the series that I'm going to talk about is the Famous 5 series by Enid Blyton. So this is the 2nd edition, and it says 5 Go Adventuring Again. So this book series have 21 books, and if you want to inculcate the reading habit in your kids, they can read from the age of 7 to 8, they can read it. So all the 21 books I have read. So this was the book that brought me into reading. I mean, even before this, my parents used to encourage us to read Tinkle Digest, Reader's Digest, all of it. But this was the book that brought me into reading books without illustrations. So Famous 5 is basically about this four people and one dog. So among these four people, three are siblings, which are Julian, Dick, and Anne. So these three are siblings, and the fourth girl is Georgina, and she is their cousin. So they end up finding adventures during their vacation. I mean, they are not really in search of it, but they end up finding and they enjoy doing it. So, and Georgina's dog Timmy is the fifth character in this, and each and every book is quite interesting and you will feel like reading through it. So yeah, you can go ahead and give this Famous Five series as a present for your kids, your younger siblings. The second book again is by the same author. So she basically writes books for children. So there are many of her books, but like there's a naughtiest girl in the class or something, I don't know, the naughtiest girl ever, okay, I don't remember. But I have only read these two series and I really love it, and I haven't gone much into other books. But even to this day, if I read this book, I find it interesting. So interesting in the sense I enjoy it. So yeah, enjoying is what matters. So the second series is the Secret 7 series, and these have 14 books. Again, I have read all of the books in the series, and this is the first book. It's called the Secret 7. So basically this follows 7 friends, among which 2 are siblings again, and they form an adventure club, and they find stuffs, adventurous, mysterious stuffs around their house, around their place, and try to solve it. So yeah, there are 14 books, and if I'm being honest, I love Famous Five more than Secret 7. I find these characters more likable than the characters of Secret 7 because they are on their own. But in this book, there's a club, and like there is a club leader and all those bossy stuff. But whereas I'm not saying there's no bossy stuff in this, but there are bossy stuffs. But yeah, but I like these characters more than this. So this was my first 2 recommendations. Third one is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Again, a series, but it also has so many other books, and this book you can recommend to one of those people who don't like reading books without illustrations, because this book have enough and more of illustrations, and it's quite humorous. So yeah, you can go ahead, give this a try, or make them read. So this is old school, the edition. I have 2 more, and I have read most of the Wimpy Kid books, but yeah, now it's not that much of my favorite. But yeah, I have grown up reading it, and yeah, so you can go ahead and recommend this to your loved ones. My 4th recommendation would be The Malgudi School Days by R.K. Narayan. So this was a book that I read last year, and this is like a second-hand copy which I got, and the first time that I read, I didn't really like it and I left it in between. But the second time when I started reading it, I really loved it. It's very enjoyable, and if a kid reads it in their young age, I feel they'll find it relatable, because in this Swami is a school-going boy, a very young boy. I think he's 8 years old, I think. So yeah, they'll find it quite relatable and heartwarming, and especially it's in like an Indian scenario. So if Indians are reading it, they'll find it much more relatable. But of course, everyone can read it, and it's really nice. It's about this boy named Swami, about his school days, about his friends, about his family, about his younger siblings. So it's quite an enjoyable read, and you can go ahead and read this. It's quite a nice book. My 5th recommendation would be Tinkle Digest, Reader's Digest, and Archie comics. So these I don't have a physical copy. I used to have a lot. I mean, my brother used to read that a lot, so we used to have a lot, and like he had the subscription. So yeah, and I used to read it, and he used to read it again and again, the same copy, and I used to be like, how do you find it even enjoyable reading the same thing again and again? But he used to read it a lot, but I used to read it once. But yeah, it's very enjoyable, and those were the ones that I grew up reading even before Famous Five, and maybe those were the books that brought interest in me to read. The 6th recommendation is gonna be a children's classic classic. It's called Black Beauty. So I read it long time ago, and it's a classic again, but for kids you can take an abridged version, because even I have read the abridged version, and it's about this horse who grew up in a very nice family who used to treat the horse very well, but later when they change and sell the horse, she gets a very bad owner, and she faces very much difficulties. So this book is a very good book, and I feel this book can bring about empathy towards animals in young children, which obviously is needed, because nowadays people find it very cool thing to bully animals like dogs. So yeah, and I feel it will give a much more positivity in them. Every time now, even after growing big, every time I see a horse, I remember of Black Beauty, and I'll be thinking, how is their life? Are they happy? Are they good? Or are their owners really bad and harsh on them? So every time I see a horse, I remember Black Beauty. So yeah, I think it will bring a good point of view in their heads. So I think I'll recommend Black Beauty as well. So those are all of my recommendations. I hope you enjoyed it. Do inculcate reading in your loved ones, and if you have read any of these books, let me know how was it for you. If you have any children's book recommendation for me, let me know. I would love to know them. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching my video. Meet you guys in my next video. Bye.